let's see. And again, the treatment plans are approved by a probate court judge. They usually are approved. I've had very rare cases where they haven't been approved. They may ask some questions about the treatment plans, but in general, they are approved. This is the initial court hearing. Prior to the initial court hearing, we review the case on a yearly basis. Sometimes I request a hearing prior to the 1 year because there might be some concerns on my part or the student's part. For instance, if the student is being faded and I want it to be expedited, and JRC might say, well, there's a potential, but we want to monitor the case first, and I would ask for a 3-month continuous. Sometimes I've asked for 4 months, sometimes 6. But in general, it's usually a year review. And again, it would go before the probate court judge who, if we're all in agreement, it's usually approved by the probate court judge. And I must admit that I have witnessed some dramatic improvements of the student. Sometimes my first visit, the student is constrained to a board with staff holding that student down, or they're constrained to a chair. And then after the treatment plan is approved, and somewhere down the road I would revisit that student, and I notice remarkable changes. They're not in an isolated room. They're not strapped down by several staff members. They're not in an isolated room, separated from all the other students. They're not able to attend classrooms. They can't go on they have no quality of life, no home visits. And I'd say in the majority of the cases, the treatment plan has worked. So, oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I just wanted to give one example. I did represent one student. He was on medication, antipsychotic medications. He was gaining weight. He wasn't able to have the GED implemented because it wasn't contained in his IEP. And he gained weight, he was sedated, and he was constantly complaining. He wanted to be on the GED. So, some of the students realize that this is the best solution possible for their well-being and future education and employment and possibly independent living.
Thank you for your testimony.
Okay.
I think you could just be brief. I just have some specific questions. How many trials have you brought?
How many trials?
Yeah, you mentioned that if there's no agreement, you go.
Right. I'd say that there aren't a majority because we usually work something out ahead of time.
How many have you tried?
I'd say about 4 or 5.
And how many cases have you represented?
It's hard to, maybe 20.
And the issue with the trials was there was no agreement between you and JRC, or how do I understand?
Yeah, it could be a no agreement between myself and JRC. One particular case, I felt, in my opinion, that the student was competent, and I hired a psychiatrist who agreed with me, and that student ended up leaving JRC because it wasn't appropriate for him.
And then on the one of the questions that was brought up was shocking the antecedent that was, or the precursor that Representative Sybeck had talked about. Have you seen that yourself? Have you seen that there, or you just don't know?
Well, I know I just have somebody, an expert, evaluate the situation. I haven't seen it myself.
So you don't see, like if you must see the end result that says that the student will be shocked if they raise their hand or something. Have you seen that kind of detail?
Right.
So are you seeing that they're being shocked for something that would be
An antecedent.
Antecedent behavior?
Yes.
So you are seeing that they're being shocked.
Well, I don't see it personally,
Not being
but
shocked,
I
but you
know
see
of
in the
it.
plan.
Right, it's in the plan, and again, I usually have an expert evaluate that particular.
And then one of the things that I'm a little confused about under the testimony today is how soon would a student get a GED once they're admitted into the Judge Rotenberg?
Well, that's the last point, that's the last resort. It's a highly structured setting, and everything is tried. There's contracts, there's positive rewards, positive
So
reinforcement.
is it a year or is it not a year? That's what I'm not sure.
Everybody varies.
So does everyone have to wait a year before they get to GED?
I don't think there's any time frame. Some
Have you
people
seen
might
anything
get
less
it,
than a year?
I'm sorry?
Have you seen anybody get the GED in less than a year from?
It's happened because some students come in and their behavior is just egregious, and I imagine they would try positive reinforcement, and if nothing works, then it is done fairly expediently.
So I'm just actually wondering, under your own experience, because they said earlier that you had to wait a year before you got the GED, and I'm just not sure.
I never heard a year. It's possible.
Did you know of any, if you represent any students that were getting the GED before the 1 year?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right, thank you.